It's Friday evening, and we have not the week to look over because our week doesn't just end on Friday or start on Monday. It changes all the time. It is a constantly changing protein type of a wonderful transmogrification of things. So much to discuss, which is when I say discuss. If Charlie's true assassin is hiding in plain sight, some other interesting things as well, some fascinating subjects regarding, among others, just a lot. Did you hear the Sean Ryan interview with Tucker? This is a guy who spent his time in war, battles, Navy SEAL, and he's finding it all too difficult to go through right now. I'm not suggesting it's not difficult, but this is the way it is. We'll talk about that. Also, the mental health problems. I don't know about you, but a lot of people I'm seeing are losing their minds. And I mean that not in the clinical sense, but in the fact that they seem to be unable to cope. But in any event, we're going to do great. We're going to have a blast, a wonderful time. And until we start doing this, let me remind you, first of all, thank you for being here. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell so you're notified of new videos and new drops. But first, this important and critical word from our sponsor. Everybody's talking about AI, a smarter future, a faster future, everything connected, everything in the cloud. Well, what happens? What happens when it breaks? What happens when the system holding your money gets hacked or artificial intelligence becomes sophisticated enough to identify patterns and exploit weaknesses and target the accounts you trusted with your financial future? Think about it. How much of what you own exists only as numbers on a screen? That's why so many Americans are choosing something real, physical gold, physical silver, assets you can actually hold. Click the special link below to learn how Noble Gold can deliver precious metals to your door or place them in a tax-advantaged retirement account. And to celebrate America's 250th birthday, viewers who use my link and open a new qualified account will receive a free 10-ounce silver bar. In an increasingly digital world, own something real. Protect what you've earned. Click the special link below now. It's a very difficult thing for some people to grasp. I don't think you're having a difficult time. I'm not. This is business as usual. And by the way, we have a new installment today. You want to hear it? A new installment. You know, every now and then somebody will say, there's a troll in the house. And they're not really trolls. It's just somebody who wants to, raise a little hell. So if you see one, do me a favor. Let me know. Let me know so I can, how do I say this? So we can maybe perhaps assist them in maybe helping to join us. That's all. There's this thing that we do. I don't know why, but people don't like to do this. I think it's a bad word. It's not really a troll. It's kind of like but we learn so much from them because most of them are not very, very good. So I want you to let me know who they are so we can get to them right away, which is very, very important. By the way, I like the way you like the word perdullion, treason. It's a fascinating word that either perdullion or perduellion means treason. Perduellion. Perduellion. You can do it a bit much different ways. My French, by the way, or anything even remotely similar to that, is just non-existent. So I don't even bother with that. Thank you, Mac. 5 memberships. I'm so glad for you. So let us know, because it's very, very important for us to have fun and also get somebody who is involved. Let's say everybody's here. Got our New Zealand buddies. I got our Kiwis here. We have so much. So the first thing I want to talk, and by the way, it's very, very nice. You are the nicest God. One of the things I want to discuss first and foremost over anything else is the following. And this is something which I find interesting. And a lot of people who are I don't know why, a lot of people who are not necessarily in the, how do I say this? A lot of people who are not, how do I say this? A lot of people who are not really in the thick of what we know, they don't really know all that we know. So let me just get down to business and ask you a very, very simple question. To begin with, right off the bat, one of the best questions ever, because I like the idea of crime stories. I like mysteries, and I like to find out what is happening. Because usually, we will have a situation where there is a bad guy, a criminal, a, what do you want to call him? A serial killer or whatever it is. And when they do something, nobody is trying to thwart your finding out. For example, when Ted Bundy or Ed Gein, he wasn't really a serial killer, but Eddie Heidnik, BTK, Ramirez, Hillside Strangler, name it. They found out, they learned from these people that they were leaving clues, and they actually turned to the rest of the world to say, this is important, the rest of the world to say, can you help us? Understand this? Do you understand this? A friend of mine writes an interesting question. It's very difficult to understand. A friend of mine wrote me, he said, can we help Candace Owens if they try to AI Alex Jones her how? It's very difficult to read. We are there to, as I said the other day, one of the most interesting things now, one of the most treacherous, is that it's not enough that you are laughed at or you are enjoined from your success. They will try to put you out of business. So the way that we help with that always is just to make sure that our particular focus, our voice, our friend, our gal is always maintained, is always promoted and helped, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where we are now. So the issue becomes, and this is very, very important, very, 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 very critical. If you're involved in this from the viewpoint of being a kind of a, for lack of a better word, a sort of a true crime person, this is completely different. And the reason why this is different is so important. I love crime. I like to solve it. And normally we don't get a lot of cases involving real crime. The thing right off the bat to understand is that most crime is pretty open and shut. There's nothing to it. We don't get mysteries. We really don't. And as I was trying to tell you before, and I've said this before, you normally don't have people getting in the way. For example, if during the time of Ted Bundy, if during that particular time, if there was a Cash Patel getting in the way of that, if there was a Ben Shapiro, if there was a TPUSA, if there were people getting in the way, and if they were throwing a bone out to frame somebody who didn't do the various murders, this is where we'd be. See, this doesn't happen. We're raising our hands and we're asking a very simple question. Why are you people doing this? Why are we fighting you? We're trying to find the killer and you're getting in the way. Why do you think they are getting in the way? What is happening here? Let me see something very important here. You make sure my mic is okay. Is my mic all right? Yep, my mic looks... Nope, that's not it. How about that? Doesn't that sound good? Doesn't that sound better? That's more like it. That's the way it is. Thank you for pointing that out to me, dear friends. That's for pointing it out. I've got so many buttons. Remember, I'm just a one-man show here. I don't have producers. I don't have somebody to cue me in. I don't have anybody to do anything. It's just little old me. So remember, everything that you donate, everything, it goes to me and the missus. That's it. It's us. There ain't nobody. That's why sometimes it seems amateurish, but in a weird way, there's a kind of an interesting patina dare I say, there's kind of like a roughness to it, which is kind of neat. Maybe that perhaps is a nice way of saying it's coarse and it's unprofessional. But in any event, this case is so different. And this is the most important thing. This case is different because we have people trying to get in the way. Let me say this again to you. Let me say this again. And I have a tendency to do this. Sometimes I say things and it sounds, but it's very, very critical. We are fighting the killers of Charlie. We are fighting the press. We are fighting a group of people who I don't even know who they are. I don't know who the TPUSA group is. I have no idea. I don't know who they are. Are they, is it Fed slop? Do you call them Fed slop? Do you always attribute them? Is it an Israel thing? What is it? I mean, seriously, what is it? What does it represent? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what to call this. But before, and I want you to stop for just a second to think about this. Politics as we knew it before was very, very simple. There was a great piece today from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, please, I have it on my X account. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that the only person who had the guts to vote no in the rule portion of it, she explained very, very simply about how bills are passed, which I did not know this, was Massey. Thomas Massey had the guts to stop this abortion called the NDAA, this National Defense Authorization Act, where we are somehow going to be aligned, turning over our military secrets and the like to a foreign country. Whether it's Israel, whether it's Germany, whether it's Ukraine, we are actually doing this. Now stop right there. Can you believe what you are hearing? And I'm hearing people, I don't know who these folks are, but I see people who are involved in this lunacy, this absolute lunacy, and they're using this mindless adherence to the notion of, I guess they believe that in order to maintain their Republican and conservative bona fides, they have to play lapdog to Israel. Or, in order to be conservative, they have to be a hawk and a neocon regarding Ukraine. That's number one. In my life, I've never seen anything like it. And what I'm also seeing, and this is more important, I'm hearing more people coming out of the woodwork. So my question to you was, do you believe that the people responsible for Charlie are Israel and the proxies or agents? Make a hell of a case. Do we have evidence of it? No. There's no smoking gun, but it sure does make sense. If I told you, guess who it is? Who? What if I said, no, I found out who it is? Who is it? Canada. You'd say, Canada. That would shock you, wouldn't it? Canada? You sure about that? Yep. Canada's involved in it? Why? I don't know. Some Trudeau. Canada? That's weird. But if I said to you, Israel, you say, that's it. So that means something. It at least passes the smell test. It passes that part of this, that, how do I say this, that where people are saying, well, that at least makes some kind of sense. So we don't know. So that's a part of it. Is that part of the Fed slap? We have to go through this. And we can't be afraid of this. Everybody is so afraid to even say Israel. We're past that. That's done. That's over with. And I've said repeatedly and assiduously, and I've said this since the beginning, I don't know of any evidence that links them. I wouldn't be surprised. Zaman says, we are fighting the people who have been mooning us since November 22nd,
1963. Oh, that's a good one. Please don't ever lose. Thank you. Please don't ever lose that ability to be suspicious. So that's number one. That's the first thing. I'm also seeing a brand new collapse of the Trump administration. I don't. Is there somebody there? I'm going to tell you something. I want you to listen to me, and I'm only going to give you the suspect. I'm only going to give you the suspects or the people who are within the realm of possibilities. Let me explain. This afternoon, a friend of mine I spoke to is going to be the best man at a wedding. And I always say funeral. I get funeral and wedding combined. I don't know why. I just do. I don't think it's a Freudian thing. So I said, let me tell you about marriage. Think about this. This should be part of you because he was talking about his toast. Did I have any suggestions? In fact, whenever you want to give a toast, I love these lines. I've always used them. One is from the movie Roxanne, where they said, where the mayor, I think it was Fred Willard, said, and he said, like to raise your glasses. He goes, I'd rather be with you people than the finest people in the world. Now, people will say, yeah, and they don't listen. This is like when you say, I've known a lot of people, and you're one of them. They don't listen. Or, when they read the names of the great broadcasters of all time, you're going to be out there listening. They don't listen. Thank you for not what you do, but for what you appear to do. They're not listening. Nobody listens to this. But I said, one thing you should always bring people's attention, that whenever there is a death of somebody who's married, the first person they look to is the spouse. What does that tell you? Because it's the most obvious. Statistics will show you. And that's the way that is. That's the way that works. You hear what I'm saying? So, if you have Charlie, this new tranche, I love saying that, the new tranche of text messages and the like from Candace to Charlie regarding some absolutely scathing indictments of Israel, or as he calls it, the Jews, which we'll speak to in a moment. Why would you not even consider that as a possibility? None. And when somebody gives me the old tropism of that's anti-Semitic, I know I'm over the target. I'm over the target. Thank you for that very much. I'm over the target if that's the first thing you can tell me. And that's what they do. That's what they do. Second issue regarding this. Be careful if it matters to you. Try to use the word, got a brand new Cajun, new member. Thank you, sir. Whenever you use the word Jews versus Israel. Now, sometimes it's a shorthand. Sometimes it's just they're used intermittently or interchangeably, not intermittently, or sometimes intermittently, interchangeably. Sometimes they're used to synonymous. But Israel, Zionists, and Jews have all really nothing to do with each other and can be mutually exclusive. You can be an Israeli and be Arab. If you've ever been there, if you've been to Jerusalem, the people in the souk, they're all Arabs. I don't know where there's people, not everybody there. There's Christians and there's all types of people who are in Israel. That's kind of not what we're talking about. But that is one of the things which is very, 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 very fascinating. A beautiful word right now to Colleen. Colleen, thank you so much. Colleen says, this is just my opinion. I foresee Tyler Robinson being set free because they have no evidence. Tyler Robinson knew something, but he's not the one but it's not the one that was Charlie shot, because Charlie wasn't shot and his shirt was burned. This is just my opinion. I foresee Tyler Robinson being set free because they have no evidence. True. Tyler Robinson knew something, but he's not the one that was I guess, Charlie shooter or something because Charlie wasn't shot and his shirt was burned. That makes impeccable sense. And by the way, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That makes incredible sense for a variety of reasons. And this is something that people have to kind of understand. Whenever you talk about murder, listen to what I'm saying. I'm not going to lead you wrong. If you talk about murder cases, homicide cases, drug cases, medical malpractice, that's obviously different. That's civil, but a drunk driving. You get into chemistry, physiology. You get into a lot of things, a lot of specifics. With homicides in this, you have ballistics, you have experts, you have angles, you have wound patterns, you have a lot of things. That is how it works. If you are claiming somebody entered a home and you have no evidence of them entering it, doors aren't broken, locks aren't broken, nothing. Now you have to be an expert in locks and physical structures and how do you get in. So it's very interesting. One of the best parts about criminal trial law is you get into a lot of chemistry and a lot of physics and a lot of expert witnesses because invariably somebody's in drugs. Oh my God, in drug cases. You should see I hope you have more than this, but in the old days, 28 grams was an ounce. And that was minimum mandatory. For 3 years minimum mandatory. And sometimes it would be normally more than an ounce. But if, let's say it's an ounce, they would always sell a street ounce. They would sell an amount less than 28 grams. Well, what happens if the amount that was picked up, that was originally, because of desiccation, it dries out, loses water, it lowers weight. You get into weights and measures and you bring in experts with that. Here's one for you. What if I have a gallon of water and I put a flake of cocaine? Is that cocaine? Yes. It's a very dilute, but it makes no sense to me. What do you mean? It's dilute. And the interesting part about that is that even though it won't get anybody high, technically speaking, so then we got to get into the notion of, well, how much was in there? And it's a fascinating issue if you think about it, about how things work. Another great question, by the way, your questions are superb. This question says, the Shit Show podcast says, how do courts distinguish between a politically motivated murder and domestic terror when the underlying facts may support both characterizations? An absolutely brilliant question. Give yourself a gold star for that one. And by the way, I love this. The question that is asked is, first, the issue is critical thinking. Does it matter if it's murder, assassination, terrorism, hate crime? We had one time a case of a fellow whose house was burned down. It was arson, and I charged a guy with first degree. It was arson in the first degree. It was a life felony. You couldn't get any more. You can't get the death penalty, but it was a life felony. It was as powerful and as strong. This fellow said, because he was gay, he said, I want you to call this a hate crime. And we didn't have hate crimes then. I said, sir, I charged the highest. I want this to be declared a hate crime. And he kept going on and going on and going on. So I said Your Honor, at this particular time, the state would announce that this is a hate crime. And the judge says, what is a hate crime? And I said, I swear to you, it sounds weird, but if anybody's watching me, he says, oh, yes. Well, hate crime it is. And we moved on. And he was happy, and I was happy. True story regarding hate crimes. This is a tough one. True story. Guy goes up to this, he's about to knock. Gay man. He's about to knock. And there's a paper plate on the door, like a thumbtack. And it says, if you're the following people, do not knock. So he's just reading it. He's not even knocking. He's seeing if he's on the hit parade. All of a sudden the door swings open and this guy comes out with a hatchet, not an axe, a hatchet, and starts chasing him. I never found out why. I do not know why. And he said, this was a hate crime. I said, yes, sir. And I said, Your Honor, I would remind you, we didn't have hate crime then. Yes, at this time, the state would announce, declares this a hate crime. He said, indeed. The defense lawyer said, what is a hate crime? I said, you know. Oh, okay. Because we didn't know what that meant. It meant no difference. Hate crimes really matter, by the way, just for what are in federal court. And I think they're stupid because it doesn't matter your motivation. Now, going back to this, what is terrorism? Terrorism is something that is done specifically to cause great fear and trepidation in a people, to let them feel like, for example, there's a series of suitcase explosions at, I don't know, give anybody an idea, but believe me, they thought about it, at Las Vegas or the Mall of America or the World Cup. All of a sudden, pow, pow, pow. You know what this is. You saw that when the planes flew into the towers, that was terrorism. Now, who the terrorists were, that's a different story. But that's terrorism. By the way, a word too, please don't use the word treason. Treason doesn't mean you're doing something despicable. Treason means you're giving aid and comfort to the enemy. You're actually raising arms against the government. It's not just you're a real, jerk. And okay, so these words, these phrases, these matter. When does assassination become assassination? Normally when the person has been removed or eliminated because of political position, because of, how do I say this? Because of who they are, what they represent. Here's one for you. One time, and we used to get into these debates all the time. Not debates, but we would parse these words. One time said, this was an execution. And I said, well, what's an execution? And the idea was that it was not just bang, but it was almost like something deliberately done, a ceremony of sorts to bring about the expunction of a fellow human being. Think about that one, which is a wonderful thing. Cami Roundtree, our good friend, Cami says, so sorry I'm late. Love your content, Lionel. Thank you for your hard work. Well, thank you, Cami Soul. I appreciate that. Those are very, very kind words. It's funny to get into the word. I love the words, and I love technical distinctions. If you have just a second, these really matter. These absolutely matter. These words are critical that I talk about. Speaking of all, this breaks my heart. Our good friend here says, is it Lily? Lily Flower says, thank you. Candace needs everyone to unite. Go Max. Absolutely. And you know what? She has done more. She has done more for, how do we say this? She has done more for us and for the cause. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean that sincerely. Everybody behaving? Just want to make sure. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. By the way, follow me on X at Lionel Media. I got some good stuff today. Okay. Now, the names of things. How many times have you heard this? They robbed his house. As an example, they robbed his house. You don't rob a house. You rob a person. And I love to think of crimes in terms of linear equations. Linear. I've always been we used to teach cops and stuff. And I always think of linear. Robbery is assault plus larceny. Larceny is the criminal taking of something with asportation. Normally where you take it and you move away. You don't just sit there and hold it and stand there. You move away. You absent yourself. Also through manufacture, where you grab it, you hold it, you grab it, and you take off, and it's not yours, and that's larceny. Okay. Assault is putting somebody in fear of an immediate physical threat. Assault is attempted battery. Assault is, I'm going to hurt you now, and you're afraid and you're scared. If I take assault plus larceny, that's robbery. Robbery is you have to be afraid. You have to be afraid. I have to deal with you. If I have a gun, it's armed robbery. If I have a stick or something, it's strong arm. But you've got to be afraid. If I went into your house at night and there was a chain around your neck and I grabbed it, that's not robbery because you're asleep. It's also not robbery if you're walking down the street. Let me ask you this. If you're walking down the street and you grab somebody's chain, for a long time, courts have held that that's not robbery either, because that's the amount of force that I used was the amount of force to remove this from your neck. You weren't even placed in fear. Thank you, Mr. Phelps. We are keeping I want to learn you. I want to learn you stuff. And I thank you. There's all kinds of great stuff. Burglary is what you really mean. Burglary is the entering or remaining in a building, structure, or conveyance with the intent to commit an offense therein. I've done it so many times I can do it in my sleep. And it's another thing too. Let's go to this. Homicide. In this particular case, doesn't really matter. They charge him with aggravated murder or something. Aggravated? I like what they say. The woman was attacked, assaulted, the R word, and assaulted. It's like, oh, okay. It's always that last word. So in this going back to, I'm sorry for that diversion, but it's fun to just, these words mean something. Also remember what I'm telling you. If you ever get a ticket, if you ever get a speeding ticket, read the statute. Whatever, look at that ticket they give you, read the statute. Read what it says. You'd be surprised what you find. Burglary versus buggery. How about mopery, assignation, all these other ones? Here's the ones too, these strange kind of inchoate crimes. Attempt, solicitation. Those are like not conspiracy. It's conspiracy is a separate crime. The actual agreement is a separate crime. Those are inchoate. INCHOATE. Those are precursors. They stand alone, but also mopery. Not even sure about mopery. It was this thing they use. I think it means kind of like a vagrancy or something. How about this? Loiter or prowl? Loiter or prowl. What the hell does that mean? When are you hanging around? I'm hanging around. Are you loitering? I don't know. I never understood what that meant. I'm serious. You get some guy 3:00 in the morning. He's doing this. He's prowling. I think he's just looking around. Or sometimes maybe they check the doors, the knobs to see if somebody's there. Here's one for you. The Terry stop. Can you stop somebody and say, come here, hold it, stop right there. Come here. Can you do that? Well, not really, unless you have a reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime is being committed, was committed, or is about to be committed. Reasonable suspicion. Reasonable. That's the Terry stop. Terry against Ohio, 1968 or whatever. Everybody knows a Terry stop. That's it. On TV, they just grab you and they throw you up against the walls. You really can't do that. Now, what about this? Never think when you're pulled over by a car, and you can see this on TV, never think if you're pulled over by a car, you don't have to listen to what they say. Never think, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Get out of here. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not, roll your window down. I'm not going to roll my window down. I didn't do anything wrong. Get out of the car. I'm not getting out of the car because I don't feel comfortable. Next thing you know, they're going to break your window and they're going to pull you out because of the Mims case. We all know you are in custody. When he pulls you over, that is custody. He has a reasonable suspicion that not that the crime was being committed, but that you did something. You did something. A tail light, a light. You're there. Please be nice. Please be nice. Okay? Now, aside from that, let's talk about Candace. Somebody wrote here. Somebody said that Candace keeps it together for an hour a day for the show. I've seen her lose it a few times, but she puts on a brave face because fighting the most evil people in the world is important. That's very, very true. I want to change subjects a little bit. I never feel more invigorated or needed than when I'm in a battle, and we're in a battle. I hope you feel the same way. I feel alive. I feel like I'm doing something that is so important and so critical. I don't want to talk about things nobody's listening to. Let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Let's not. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the Strait. I don't want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. This is important. I have done something, and you have done something. We have done something. We have pulled people into the tent. We have brought more people in. Let me ask you a question. Ask yourself this question. Before Charlie, did you care? You know what I mean? Someone asked me before, if you have nothing to hide, just comply. Well, yeah, you do have a right to be left alone. And thank you, by the way. You have the right to be left alone. And you have the right to be, if you have nothing to hide, no. I have the right to be left alone. I also have the right not to talk to you. Now, these rights can hurt you. These rights can hurt you a lot if you use them the wrong way. People get the wrong impression. Our good friend right now, Max says, Lionel, how's the fast going? Oh, I did it yesterday. Thoughts on Sean Ryan being a nebula, whatever, to real truth. Few know the things that you know. That's your gift, knowledge, with wit and context. So also the best hand farts. Being a, what does it say? Being a nebula to real truth. I don't know what that means, but thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. And I want to talk about this, which is a very interesting thing. And as you can see, I will change subjects in mid-sentence because I think something else is more important. It's like, can I try that? It's like when we're at newbie. Oh, I'm sorry. I see it in blue. I got this little, I need a big screen. Newbie, a tyro, Tyro is a good one. A parvenu. It's another new one. It's somebody who's new. If you can work in Panjandrum, that's a good one too. That's kind of like a big shot, but that's really not it. A newbie to this. When I watched Sean Ryan with Tucker, I'm thinking to myself, wow. They're all liars. Yeah. And by the way, please don't understand that the Strait of Hormuz, that I don't think it matters. We've been talking about that for the longest time. I remember the first time I ever heard a friend of mine who was a British folk. He's kind of an interesting dude. He did a lot of international stuff. The Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb, especially with the Red Sea. I don't think that's important. But if you think I can do an hour on the Strait of Hormuz, no, it's boring. How about that Strait of Hormuz? Be hell if they shut that down. It sure would. I don't want to see gas go to $20 a gallon. Okay, there we go. I just discussed it. You want to talk about it again? Why don't you say that? Here now you say, I don't want gas to go $20. And I'll say it again. There's nothing really to talk about. There's no flesh. There's no subdirectories to this. But I am of the opinion, first of all, I expect nothing. I'm not depressed. I do not think people are good. I don't use words like evil and all that. I feel like I'm in a world, I'm in a pen or a corral with animals that are vile and they're disgusting and they hurt each other and it's just terrible. Politics is lying. I love history. Please. History is learning from mistakes. History is one big mistake. Gene McCarthy, during the Vietnam War, when he thought that Johnson was going to go with him, and he didn't. He double-crossed him. He told you, "You come to your family, bring your family to Atlantic City. I'm gonna back you," and he backed Humphrey. He just lied to him. Johnson might have been as close to being a serial killer. Rumor has it he might have killed his sister, Josepha. This is a bad dude, a blatant liar. And I understand that the first time you meet somebody, you would say, thank you, Mr. Trump, or thank you. Whoever runs next time, you can say, I understand you're going to change your mind. I understand that the Trump we hear today is not going to be the Trump we hear later on because things change. We understand that in order for you to run for office, this is what Sean doesn't understand. You're going to have to say certain things. And if things change later on, that's the way that goes. Sorry, that's the way it goes. You want to be stuck with as few lies as possible. The circumstances will dictate. I am absolutely shocked at how it appears that our foreign policy is being written by Tel Aviv, or not all, not Ukraine, but when it comes to the Middle East, oh, absolutely. I mean, and listen, AIPAC, hats off to you. I can respect people. I can respect people who intimidate, con, put pressure on. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I know you're not supposed to, but I can. I know that's a terrible thing. So Sean Ryan he's going through all this stuff. He's got to see spiritual stuff. See, I don't have that. I don't have any. I don't expect anything. I'm not disappointed. I expect absolutely nothing. This is the game. If you don't want to get into it, don't get into it. It's cutthroat. It's cutthroat. You want to help people? You want to help people? Talk to somebody who works in pediatric oncology. I had a friend of mine years ago. Pediatric oncology. Every day you go in a room, you see poor kids with tubes in their nose, and they're dying. Every single day of your life. And you get to know them. And you get pictures on this wall. And all these kids, dead. A lot of them are okay. But this is his world. Every single day. Makes the best of it. He says, I can do one of two things. I can leave this, or I can stay in it and try to help. Maybe I can make a kid's last days on earth better. Maybe I can give solace. Maybe I can cure somebody. Or I can just quit. I can say, oh, is this too icky for me? Sorry. A lot of people do. If you're not good at something, it's like, I want to be in it. I want to do the worst stuff there is. I want to get my hands dirty. I really want to do that. I think that is the most interesting. That's why I love the murder cases are the most interesting because they're the most horrible. And if ever that was really important to find, and I always thought to myself, we really need to figure out a way to go back, perhaps, and to a priori type of adjudicate these people ahead of time, but maybe having people aware of not psychopaths. There might be 0.6% of the population, but maybe kids who are, by the way, bullies show the greatest predisposition for this. So Sean's having a hard time. A lot of them times too. I think Tucker, they're very, very sensitive. That's a very, very good thing. My sensitivity is interpersonal, familial stuff, friends. If I see people who are suffering here, I don't worry about spiritual, God, goodness. I don't worry about that. That's not, you worry about that. My thing is more immediate. But this guy's going through a lot of grief, a lot of it. The lying, it fascinates me. I got to tell you something, and it's probably, if you'd have told me this years ago, they took a person, this young man, Charlie, and somebody whacked him. And this fellow, Tyler, it makes no sense. You know who's a real shill? Nick Fuentes. I don't know how much they're paying Nick. This guy doesn't know. I don't believe a word he says. Not a word. Have you seen old Nick? Strata says, what if the fact USA is joining its military to that other nation, and nobody went crazy about it because the level of satanic and rituals being done have now reached levels never seen before. People can't see anymore. That is a fascinating subject. And it's a subject which I love to talk about, but people have a little bit, how do I say this? People are, what's the word? They're not able to. Let me go back and see this. Let me say this. Very important. Evil, satanic, sometimes I think are used metaphorically to describe different things. I don't even want to debate people about whether the rituals matter, whether it's true, whether there's a Satan, whether. I will tell you this, though. If somebody, I remember, what was it recently I heard? Was it in the news? Or maybe somebody I know. Don't ask me why, but somebody who was, I know what it was. Yes. A friend of mine, it was my friend in Philly. There's somebody she knew. Neighbors didn't get along. One woman hated the other woman. This other woman was pregnant. She put, listen to this, some type of a voodoo thing, chicken bones and something. And it meant something. It meant to bring harm to that baby. It was a satanic ritual symbol. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what you call it. But it was the damnedest thing. And hang on a minute. I hit my thing I hit it all the time. Because I got to position the what you call it perfectly. Anyway, okay, there we go. Okay, as I was saying, they took this woman took chicken bone. I don't know if she's Haitian, voodoo. I don't know what the word is, but she took this thing, and she basically made a symbolic curse, maybe a curse, regarding this woman who's pregnant. And I said, do you know how horrible, now work with me on this. Do you know how horrible this is? And they said, it doesn't matter. I said, no. I said, yeah, you're missing the point. Do you know what it is that somebody went out of her way, and she's serious about this. So whether it works or not is a different story. It doesn't really matter. But they did this. They put together a symbolic totem, something totemic, some symbol, in order to induce miscarriage or death of an unborn child. They wanted this to happen. And yes, they didn't, you're right, they didn't go through, thank God they didn't do something more. So my point is, when you have people who are involved in satanic rituals and the like, and they are there, what does this tell you? Now, some people swear that with Baphomet and others, that they are into Satan, Anton LaVey. It's kind of kitschy. They don't really hurt anybody. This is what they say. This is what they want you to believe. I knew the great Maury Terry. Maury Terry wrote the definitive book on Son of Sam. And what Maury Terry always said was, this is very important, that Son of Sam basically was pulled in and recruited by this satanic group. And he believed, among other things, that he did a lot of this stuff in order to keep his family safe. They threatened his family. And that a lot of these people, you ready for this? A lot of these people, I don't know if it was Stacy Moskowitz, I forget which of the people that were killed, but a lot of these people were part of actual snuff films. Now, this was something which is interesting. I knew a guy years ago who was in ATF. We used to go to, there was a magical Irish bar that was the greatest place in the world on 57th Street called Kennedy's. It's not there anymore. And I knew, I mean, we had everybody from Jim Kallstrom was in there, Joe Coffey was in there, the great Mike Sheehan, the best New York City cops. This one guy, Al Shepard, this guy was emergency response. You can't believe what these people knew. I sat with one guy who was an ATF agent. They're all probably retired now. And he used to talk about snuff films. And they would be sent, and it was very, very big in certain European countries, and they would use art. They would put it in the back of art, video tapes of VHS. And sometimes they were fake, he said, but sometimes they weren't. And you've got a prostitute or something, and it was. Now, how about that? I mean, here we are having a drink, and they're talking about this stuff. And I thought this was just mythical, magical. Oh, no, 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 no. No, it's real. It's real. So one of the things that they were thinking about the night of, and it makes sense that Maury Terry was talking about with Son of Sam, was that they were actually going and filming, and somebody would go up to a car, and imagine how sick you are. You've got an actual film, a film nobody else has, of a murder taking place. Now, let me throw a monkey wrench into this. If I take a picture, if I film something it's already taking place, I didn't that's for you. I didn't construct it. I didn't organize it. I didn't do anything. I just, whatever. But I'm there and I'm recording it. Does that count? And it's a little weird. There's a movie called, not Wagged It Dog. It's got Man Eats Dog, or Man Bites Dog. It's a French, I think it's French. It's about it's kind of a mockumentary of a fellow who goes out documenting a serial killer, and he participates in the actual events in order to, he becomes friends with the killer. All right, I know this is a lot of gibberish. You brought up satanic stuff. Does it exist? Yeah. They found all this stuff in Yonkers. Oh, yeah. And I want you to do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. I want you to look at the picture of the letter that came in. This will blow your mind. You'll wonder, how am I the only one who knows this? Look at the picture that is of the actual letter that was sent to Jimmy Breslin. Look at this unique handwriting style, and then look at Berkowitz's signature and others. You're thinking, wait a minute, that he didn't write this, and he didn't fake it. He didn't write this. To add another layer to this, many people were suspecting that it wasn't Berkowitz. That my friend Maury Terry was saying, no, you guys got it wrong. And they were saying to him, shut up. And some people said, there are people who retired from the NYPD. I mean, detective, first grade, people have been around for 20, 30 years. These are hardcore. The old New York City cops, the old detectives, whew, man, thank God they're on our side. And they used to tell him, you be very, very careful, because if you're going to go out there, people have retired and promotion, and they think, the city, by the way, says, we feel happy that we got this guy. So shut up. Don't tell these people it's not the Son of Sam, because they're happy now. This whole place, you got it? So, I mean, it was so complicated. And I was living, I went through it. I mean, I knew him. I used to, oh my God, I couldn't believe what I'm listening to. Could it be? Yes. Because the more impractical, the more amazing, the more hard you understand, the more possible it is. Remember what Marshall McLuhan said? Little lies are hard to keep secret, but big lies are easy. So going back to what you said about satanic, is it alive? Yes. Are there people who go into weird cults and pictures? Man loves symbology. Man loves symbols and colors and handshakes and robes and secrets and candles and lights and incense and chants, incantations, this the chanting. I used to love. I really did. I didn't believe in it necessarily, but I loved going to a Catholic church in the '60s. You'd hear the sometimes you very rarely hear Latin, but when they do the Pater Noster, Quies and Kindlies, Scientificator Nomen Tuum, Ad Vediat Rectum Tuum, Fiat Voluntas, Sicut in Caelo et in Terra, Panem Nostrum Quotidianum, Da Nobis Hodie. I can't remember, but it was it was like a drone. It was a hum, and they're ringing the bell in the sacristy, and now Jesus is the it's the theophagy, eating God, the symbolism of the host eating God. This is my body, this is my blood. Not vampirism, but blood, body, corporeal, transubstantiation. You believe this is well. Now that's for good, right? That's for good. That's for good. That same predisposition, that same predilection, that same tendency that people have to believe these things does not lend itself only to good. Absolutely not. So, is there a Satan? It doesn't matter. Look what these people are doing. They think there is, and they're going to do some pretty nasty stuff. When Candace talks about Baal, and I mentioned Baphomet and others, when you talk about also the older the religion, Judaism is filled with, the Kabbalah. And again, it's man's desire always to seek order and to take the usual randomness of life and to control it by saying, I'm going to do something to either appease the gods or wrest control or do something. It is absolutely fascinating. It is one of those things that I can't get enough of. And our good friend Vasiliki says, my typos yesterday happened when I messaged from my phone. Confession and Holy Communion protect from voodoo. Jesus expels dark. Christ expels darkness. Yes, I understand it. It's a very interesting thing. I've got to say something to you, which is very, very important, and I think people understand this. I have said this for the longest time in my life, and people think that I'm kind of kidding. Or when I was a kid, what fascinated me the most was the devil. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't. But I was like, no, tell me about that. He looked different. I found out that the whole horns, everything was pan. Pan. I heard somebody use the word anarchist. You don't understand what anarchy means. Anarchy does not mean there's no law. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't. That's what people use it as. It's like the word psychopath. Anarchy means that anarchy is the opposite of hierarchy. Mearsheimer talks about the fact that countries enjoy or have to deal with an anarchy. When a country needs help, they don't call 911. There's no hierarchy. It's anarchy. There's nothing above them. You're on your own. It's different than what people think about. But when the notion of Satan came along, I thought, growing up, well, it's kind of quaint. It's one of those Catholic things, and okay. Like in the old days, most people don't know this. I'll bet you Candace does it, because when Candace probably learned her catechism, I know they didn't teach her this. We learned limbo. Everybody in my generation understands what limbo is. Limbo is where unbaptized babies went, or people who were never baptized. People who, but it was weird. Baptized because they were born before Christ. I don't know. It seems so unfair. That bothered me as a kid. There was a lot of things. We had St. Blaise. Remember that? They had the 2 candles or in your throat, because St. Blaise stopped somebody who was, I think it was a chicken bone or a fish bone or something, and they would do this ceremony where you would cross candles on your throat. Oh yeah, the whole thing about ashes and but Catholics, a couple of things. First of all, the role of the Blessed Mother, Mary, which others don't have, and the devil. Pope Leo came up with the idea of 2,000 or 1,200, 2,000 new exorcists. They believe in this. And this is another thing which I don't understand either. Why did God decide to expel Satan or Lucifer? And by the way, Lucifer is from, when you say Lucifer, Lucis, in Latin, you always say lux lucis. You always say, if you're cool and you speak classical Latin, you always say the noun, and then you think the genitive singular. Lux lucis. Lucis is of the light. So lucis, of the light, is Lucifer. It was an idea which was at one particular point kind of a groovy thought, which I think people misunderstand completely. Our good friend Vasiliki says, Super Chat does not allow the English word Jesus, word salad. Oh, diavolo, devil in Greek, is diavolo, right? To separate. Ooh, I like that. To separate. Diavolo is division. My name is Saint Basil. Ooh, I like that. Interesting. I love the etymology. I love that. Thank you. That is so interesting. Now, let me also tell you something, my dear friends. If I could impart upon you something. If you want to learn something really interesting, and this is not, Catholics have the best. We have saints, martyrs, Stations of the Cross, Mary. Remember Martha? Was it Martha? Martha was her sister. Anne was her mother, and Mary's mother. And anyway. Listen to me. If I had to pick something really to study that I think makes the most sense, far more deadly, is the Antichrist, not the devil. Different. Antichrist. Do any ChatGPT. Ask, what's the difference between the devil and Antichrist? Antichrist is, you ready for this? AI. It is deception. It appears to be your friend. It lures you. It's the model of the psychopath. It has no conscience. It's glib. It lures you. It fools you. If ever there was something, the devil, Satan, okay. I always had some questions. Why are you always going after children, some little girl, in Ecuador who's yelling all kinds of stuff? And I remember a priest who was a very interesting Jesuit, very interesting, said, well, those are the ones you hear about. Do you think every possession is like that? Do you think everybody who is possessed screams and yells, your mother darns socks in hell? Do you? Do you think so? And it made me think, you got a point there. I said, do you think that the devil always announces his presence? Here I am. Look at this person with a head spinning around in pea soup. Do you think so? I don't. That made me think. That was a very good one. That was interesting. But the notion of the Antichrist is more interesting. And let me also tell you something. Knowledge will set you free. If you know of it, then And by the way, I am no catechism teacher. I'm not in any way into the theology. I'm not even. I mean, I'm a retired Catholic because I don't go to church, and I don't. You got to practice it. You don't just sit there. Yeah, I got yeah. And when I was 7, I got the communion. Well, that doesn't mean anything. But anyway, I mean it does, but it doesn't. But what I'm saying is that it's very, very interesting if you get into the mystical part of it. And what it does is look at this. We have 10 Liberty Bell. Words cannot explain. When you have people who embody the opposite of that which is promoted by Jesus and God and Christ, instead of the Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world. Hear our prayer. Remember that when you do the incantation? I can remember this it was like drilled into me. But all of these things, the pastor, the flock, this whole notion of the church, and the Jesuits and what they did and how they were originally with Ignatius Loyola. This is the Pope's army. I know people get all bent out of shape, but it's a fascinating thing. With all due respect, Methodists, I'm sure they're fine people. They've got nothing to compare with this. They're all under the same umbrella. Baptists, Methodists, Lutherans, Presbyterians. So, it's like saying the difference between, I wanted to share this with you. I saw something between jelly, jam, marmalade, preserves, and there's something else. Do you ever think about that? Jelly, jam, marmalade, and preserves. Here's one: soup, broth, consomme, chowder, stew. There's all these gradations. You never thought, like, yeah, you're right. Life's like that. Our good friend Allison Brewer, says, interesting, I cannot even type the word Blakey Fakey, Neff, used about Candace on X to express my disgust without YouTube blocking it, but yet he has to apologize, edit or remove it. Remove his microphone protected. By the way, you can do this. You can use the app. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand how it can take, like my friend Sparky for the longest time could not use the word good. That's just bizarre. It's bizarre. But let's go back into this again, though. This I find fascinating because there's something to this. We all believe there is a voice and a force for good. We believe that there are people who are out there promoting good. Spread the holy word. Charity, beneficence, philanthropy, love, piety. Well, with that comes something else, which is the opposite of that. The opposite trajectory. The opposite part of it, the other part of it. And there are people who are enlivened, motivated, in lust with pain, suffering, sadism, hurting, harming, disappointment, fake, destruction. They are there. Now, some will say, no, we're merely pagan. We're into the, different Saturnalia. Okay, fine. Not everybody. We're not talking about the guy on the street who's the robber. We're not talking about some guy who breaks in. Remember the old days, they would steal your radio. In New York, we had signs that say no radio. And okay, no soap radio. But they would, they're thieves, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are evil. And I was watching something about Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was talking about, I told you I saw this documentary I watched. It's called American Experience or something. See it on Daniel Patrick Moynihan. So fascinating. Please see it. And they were talking about what's going on. And Henry Kissinger talked about, of all things, Moynihan, who was decrying, furious over Somalia, wanting to equate from the UN the Zionism with racism. And he went berserk. And here was Kissinger, himself a Jew who fled Nazi Germany, who said, the way we take care of this is to take the bill and we absorb it into something and it goes away. This was the most diabolical Risk. You know the game Risk? To him, it's all a game. It's all a game. Everything is a game. So what I'm saying, my dear friends, is don't ever think for a moment when people try to tell you, you're getting too much into this. You're talking a lot about this screwy stuff. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. I don't care if you can articulate it. I don't care if you know anything about it. I don't care if you watch Eyes Wide Shut. It doesn't matter to me. All I know is that we see this. We also see individual versions of this, of human predation, where they go after children. And by the way, tonight is my WABC 2 to 5 a.m. Eastern time. And my guest every first hour is my wife, Mrs. L from Lynn's Warriors. We talk about what's going on. Her latest thing is AI. But remember what I told you. AI is the Antichrist. AI lures you. AI knows. Remember what it does. Real AI, not ChatGPT. 4 things. Number 1, recursive self-improvement. It constantly rewrites itself. It writes its own code. Number 2, it knows everything in the world, every bit of information, every phone number, every address, every fact. Number 3, it knows human psychology. It knows anger, jealousy, resentment, envy, seduction, allure, whatever you want. It knows everything, and it'll know how to read you, how to phrase. It can tell. It learns not only just language, but the 4th part is it makes its own API. It makes its own app system. It will create its own systems where it will allow you to operate it. So not only does it involve itself in recursive self-improvement, but it will create something that allows you in. And the first thing it does is it immediately removes your ability to shut it down, changes the passwords. It is, when it gets out, forget about data centers. No, forget that. I'm not talking about that. The essence of what I'm talking about is the Antichrist. It's everything you thought. It's everything you believed. It is everything. And there is something to be said. Remember, if you want to see what Satan looks like, kind of, sort of, I want you to look at, and believe it or not, Piers Morgan is just a waste of time as a political interviewer, but his serial killer stuff is great. Watch his interview with Bernard Giles, the best one ever. That teaches you so much. How an individual, and there are more and more of them, who say, my goal in life is not to hurt you, not to embarrass you, not to physically abuse you, but to rob you of your life, to own you, to possess that, to be in the moment of that. You have to understand what he thinks to understand how sick these people are. It's not that you're never going to appreciate it yourself. It's not that kind of. It's not that you're. I mean, empathic doesn't mean sympathetic. In any event, my friend. An hour and 14 minutes. Did you like tonight? Wasn't this fun? You notice how we went and we started off and we went. I don't know where we start and where we end, thanks to you. Now, some people might say, well, he's all over the place. Oh, no, no, no. It's this journey. It's this beautiful journey. Now, what I want people to do is, if you're an atheist, do not dismiss what the Bible and what Christianity says. Do not dismiss it. Do not. Do not put yourself in the position of thinking, oh, these people are crazy. They're not crazy. They're not crazy at all. Vasi Basil says in Scripture at the Last Supper, the text specifies that the devil entered Judas. In my opinion, the Antichrist is a man, maybe a DNA clone of Jesus, yes, with AI in that person. and evil charismatic corruption. A wonderfully magnificent and, dare I say, tantalizing hypothesis. It's the same way people think when they try to deduce or try to figure out cancer, where cancer comes from. You have to think. You have to think deeper. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you immensely. Please accept my absolute incredible thanks for your kindness, for the super chats. I love you for that. You are so terrific. Thank you for being here. Thank you for saying, oh, look at this. The Garrison Project says, AI says, Charlie Kirk is alive. Check. Be all over. It's perfect. I would argue against that only because of the first thing Charlie would do is he would say, I cannot allow this young man to be on trial for murder if I'm alive. He's facing the death penalty. He's the firing squad. Charlie would not be a part of that. So, because he says, I can't do this. I can't. That's the number one defense to homicide if the person is not there. That's a little far-fetched, but I'm all for entertaining it. Sparky, by the way, Doog says no one can use the word Doog except backwards on a Latin Nation Super Chat. Not just me. At least murmurations was finally allowed. You've always been great, my friend. Sparky's been around since. He's an old-timer. Poor guy couldn't write good. Insanity. In any event, dear friends, thank you so much. It's a beautiful 72 degrees here in New York City. And I just cannot tell you how honored I am to be here and how you make my night. This is how I spend mine. This is it. I love this. And always, if you pray for Candace, send good, powerful energy her way. And we've got her back as she has ours. All right, dear friends. Remember, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. And whatever you do, I always ask, always remember the final words, the valedictory, not the denouement, but the adios, the benediction. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.